So this is Mike Farley, and we're with Poolside Perspectives, and we're going to continue our saga covering water safety. Leo joins us from Twinscapes in the capacity of sales director for the West Coast region, bringing 10 years of experience in commercial architecture in the design industry. Drawing on a passion for design and travel and hospitality experiences, he specializes in hotel, restaurant, and super yacht project realization in the architecture and design industry, with leading product and market knowledge across North America, Europe, and Japan. Over the last 10 years, Leo has collaborated with the likes of Naboo, Marriott International, San Lorenzo Yachts, Benedetti Yachts, Amman Hotels, Union Square Hospitality Group, and Delta Airlines to maximize outdoor experiences and increase revenue for corporate clients through the addition of premium, innovative solutions. He has lived and worked in Europe, Asia, and North America, and Leo enjoys traveling and exploring the world in his spare time. Leo said his next challenge is learning to surf along the Pacific coast and getting his private pilot's license. So we'll look forward to talking to Leo about movable floors with Twinscapes. So have you surfed in all those locations, or you just mentioned that you wanted to be surfing in the Pacific? I mean, is that something new, or is that just...
That's something new. Yeah, I've gone a few times. I'm still learning, but yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll, make it down to Costa Rica one day, right? Portugal, they've got those crazy waves. I don't think I'll do those, but maybe to go check them out when they're right in those 30-meter waves.
Wow. Yeah. So you live in California all your life, or you've lived in a lot of different places?
I've lived in a few places. Yeah, I currently live in LA on the west side of Santa Monica. So the epitome of sunny Southern California.
Okay. Well, we lived in Northern California for a while. So anyway, right outside of Davis, a little town called Dixon, in between Sacramento and San Francisco.
Okay.
It's just south of Napa Valley, that area.
Nice. And close to Tahoe too, which is very nice.
Yes. Tahoe is where I took my wife on our first date. So anyway, I like the mountains, and that was nice to have them close. So
it is. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
You a water skier and snow skier too?
Skier, but not a water skier. I haven't tried that yet.
Okay.
But we spent some time in Tahoe over 4th of July last year, and we had received so much snow and rainfall. And, we were swimming in the lake, looking up at the mountains, and there's still a ton of snow on the mountains. And that was just incredibly beautiful, right? Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely an experience. Yeah.
Well, thanks again for meeting with us. I always just like to find out a little bit about people before we start. So today, thank you for being here on Poolside Perspective podcast. And we're going to talk about your Hydrofloor. So I think this is a product that a lot of people have questions about, and they do not understand how this all works. So I'm going to let you start and just give us a brief overview of kind of how this product works.
Sure, of course. Yeah. And thank you, of course, again for having me. So yeah, the technology that we have, our company is called Twinscape. We design Hydrofloors. So a Hydrofloor is essentially a movable pool floor or a disappearing pool floor. So what happens is you'll build out your pool vessel, and then we'll come in and we'll help design a floor that can go up and down. So you can have the floor at finished ground level, meaning you can have a completely flat hardscape terrace, which is still usable. So, if you have a tight space, or if you want to be able to get multifunctional usage out of your space, you can use that space as a swimming pool or an event space, a ballroom, or simply a rooftop terrace, for example. We design these floors which will go up and down hydraulically. Okay. And you can have them preset at any depth, which, of course, if you've got little children, you can preset it at very, shallow depths like 6 inches or 18 inches, and then you can go all the way down to full swimming depth as well, or when it's time for the adults and the teenagers to come into the pool. So
can you
say that we
sorry, so could we make it 7 inches, or does it go in only 6-inch increments, or I mean, how does the depth adjustment, is there just open-ended anything that you want, or is it like certain increments?
So it is open-ended. You can have certain presets on our touch panel control system at your most commonly used depths. You can literally have it at any depth increment that you'd like.
So you mentioned that it could be a surface that you could use for a lot of things. So Trey would probably want to play basketball on it.
Maybe, yeah.
Because can it hold up to like a basketball game on top of it?
Depending on how many people, I mean, yeah, it's a likely possibility. We do build the floors for commercial properties as well, like hotels. We recently worked on a Kimpton hotel project in Dallas, actually. We have a load rating of 100 pounds per square foot.
Okay.
If you have a 700 square foot floor, you could potentially park a Corvette on it and it'll still be very stable. So quite possibly you could have a basketball game with, a few people on there.
So what hotel in Dallas?
The Kimpton Pittman Hotel.
Okay. Well, hey, that's down the street. Well, I got to check that out.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah.
So what do they use it for other than a pool?
So they'll use it for morning yoga. They'll roll out the yoga mats and have an instructor out there, I think on Saturdays and Sundays, very early in the morning. So they'll start the day with morning yoga, and then they roll out a few tables for brunch, right? So when the guests come out for brunch, probably between 9 and 11:30, they'll roll out a few tables and people sit down on the floor, and the space again is being utilized as a hardscaped patio floor, essentially. And then in the afternoon or the early afternoon, the pool floor will come down for family swim time, for families with their little kids who can kind of splash around in the pool. Later in the day, the floor goes down for full swimming capabilities for, again, the older kids and the adults as well. And then the space is also used for rentals, like weddings, for example, private events. We'll be hosting a cocktail hour there actually for one of the pool trade shows coming up in November.
Oh,
inviting a few contractors. So if you guys would like to come by, we'd be happy to have you there and show you how the floor works.
I teach at that show.
Okay, yeah.
I'll be teaching
Perfect.
there. Yeah. That's the second week in November, I believe, if I remember correctly. So yeah, the International Pool and Spa Show. So anyway, cool. So sorry, I interrupted you as you were going through and explaining things. So we can vary the depth, was what you were saying. So one question also, so we're talking about depth, is the floor always the same? You can't pitch it, like it can't be 3 feet on one side and 6 feet on the other, right? It's got to be like
that's correct,
all 4.5, right? So
that's right, yeah,
or 6 inches or whatever the increment is you're choosing. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Okay, I'll let you go back into explaining things.
Yeah, and that'll actually segue me into some of the building things to look out for or requirements. So whenever you're building out the pool vessel for our floor to go in, you have to have vertical walls or 90-degree wall to floor
corner,
and then any fixtures that you may have in the walls, like lights, current or wave generators, filtration systems, they all need to be recessed into those walls so as to not impede the floor to go up and down. We require just about 2.5 to 3 feet at most of space beneath the pool floor for all of the hydraulic rams and the pulleys and the cables to sit in. So yes, you'll have to build out a pool vessel with a flat floor and account for some extra space beneath the floor as well. Whenever the floor goes up and down, you actually don't see any of the mechanical parts. All of that is hidden beneath the floor as it goes up and down.
So since we were talking about depth earlier, I'm wondering what's probably the deepest pool y'all installed? Because I know you said that we'll make the vessel. So have y'all had any like diver pools or anything like that? Like
10 feet deep?
We may have. We may be under NDA, so I can't share too much on those.
No, you're good. Yeah.
But yeah, we can go, a very popular swimming depth is 5 or 6 feet, we found.
Yeah.
For the commercial pools, 4 feet. But we can go a little bit deeper than that. Nothing really, it's very rare to see, deep dive pools with this technology, as it's typically used more in, residential projects and in, hospitality projects.
So do you do a lot in the medical industry as well?
In the medical industry, not necessarily, but we've been working on a few wellness projects for spa experiences that have spas, for example.
Right.
There are some, hospitality companies that are really pushing for wellness retreats. So we'll, incorporate spas into each one of their bungalows or villas that they have on their property so that each guest can have their own, swimming or spa experience when they're staying at that hotel.
So when we have wall fittings like a spa jet, those would need to be recessed into the wall as well, correct?
That's right.
Okay, cool. So do we have to have is there a particular finish that we have to have inside the vessel?
Yes, it does. It needs to be tiled all the way down.
Okay, so it's a tiled vessel on the, so underneath where the equipment is, would that be a tile floor as well?
That would be tile, yes, but obviously, it's the mechanical part that the client or the homeowner would never see. So what we do see a lot, very often, is that pool contractors will use a higher quality or a nicer tile on the walls.
Sure.
And then wherever we have the mechanical stored, just a cheaper tile, so to say, since no one will ever see it.
Understand.
So no one's ever going to see it, but how would you clean the pool? Because the debris, wouldn't it get through the cracks, or is there no way it's going to get underneath the actual panels that are moving?
It's a great question. So when the floor goes down, we have about a 5/16 of an inch gap between the floor and the pool walls. It's a very, very slim gap. And that's all it takes for the water to be transferred from beneath the floor as the floor is going down. So I didn't mention this, but we don't drain the pool, as the floor is going up and down. The water is always going to live beneath that pool floor. And the pool floor has these closed cell foam buoyancy packs, which allow it to float. So it has a natural tendency to float, and then it gets locked into place when it's at a finished floor level. As the floor goes down, by way of the gap between the pool floor and the pool walls, the water is transferred up and down. So cleaning the pool, we don't get a lot of debris, I would say, between that gets transferred when the floor is going up and down. Some of our clients will, give a quick sweep or dust off the floor before they decide to lower the floor.
Okay.
For a deep cleaning of the pool, obviously, it would be, we do see that the pools will be drained, of course, while the floor is at finished floor level. Deep cleaning of the pool, and the pool gets filled back up.
So do you have anyone that ever uses N4 cleaning in that bottom of the floor?
N4 cleaning? That is a good question. I can find that one out. I can find out for you from my colleague Jim when he's back.
I would think that would make a real sensible situation, because then it's basically going to clean anything that goes down into your vault. Otherwise, do you have like a hatch or something that people can go in and do service or something along those lines to the underneath the floor?
Great question. So yes, we do build in hatches. Depending on the size of the floor, 1 or 2 access hatches into the floor, which can get pulled out. All of Twinscapes service technicians are certified scuba divers. Okay. And so what happens is, whenever there is service or maintenance required, which you recommend, twice a year, 2 dives a year, they'll put on their full scuba gear, and then they will dive through the access hatch. And then, it's kind of like it's a very cool James Bond situation where you're diving below the floor, not for those who are claustrophobic, of course, but yeah, very cool experience.
Not for me. No way.
So I would imagine autofill is probably mandatory on one of these pools. Is that correct?
Autofill?
Yeah, autofill. Because you're not seeing.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, because you're not seeing the water if the floor is raised traditionally. So I would imagine monitoring the water level would get a little tricky unless you're keeping the floor down to like swim level.
You know what? That's a good question. I haven't been asked that one yet, so I'll have to follow up on that one as well.
Do most people come to this in their early design process of building the pool? I mean, do you work with a lot of architects and landscape architects, or you're working more with pool builders? I mean, how are people finding your product, and when do they need to get involved with you in this process? When is too early? Is it ever too early to get you involved?
That's a great question as well. So it's never too early. We always recommend getting in touch with us as soon as your client has an idea of wanting to, install one of these floors. We do a lot of work with architects, landscape architects, and then contractors, and also general contractors lately as well have, expressed interest in installing our floors. There is a lot of engineering work that we require, and then we also have to work with, the pool contractors, the pool tradesmen to make sure that the pool is built to our spec. So, we'll work in tandem with the architect and with the contractor to ensure that, everyone's got a good idea of how the pool vessel needs to be built out, what our requirements are. And then we'll sort of work through the process together to make sure that everything gets designed and installed seamlessly.
I have a question. So the vessel itself, because they built that before, has anyone ever done a vessel maybe with an acrylic dam wall, and then that, because those affinity pools are pretty popular, they're really cool, where you have the acrylic window going the whole length of the pool. But I don't know if that's possible with this product. I'm just wondering if it is or not.
It is possible.
Okay.
We've got if you look on our YouTube, we have a case study video of a ski in, ski out resort home in Whitefish, Montana.
Okay.
And they've actually got those acrylic panels. I believe they have 3. It's a curvilinear pool, and they've got 3 of those acrylic panels from which you could essentially look out. The house is on a hill, and so you can see the trees and the snow as you're swimming or diving in the pool.
That's
now,
awesome.
we do like to work with infinity edge pools. Yes, it's a great problem to have. Absolutely. We do like working with infinity edge pools, and once you see the visuals on this project here, you'll see that because it is an infinity edge pool with an 8-foot drop, when the floor would come up, there was an issue where there wasn't any fence, being infinity edge. So what happens is we were able to anchor acrylic panels to the top of the floor. As the floor comes down, those acrylic panels will go down into the pool as well. And so while you're swimming, you won't see those, and you'll essentially have a full infinity edge. And then as the floor comes back up, you do have that, acrylic panel that comes up instead of having, an unsightly fence at finished floor head.
Interesting concept. So that's cool. So when you raise a pool up and down like that, I mean, is that something that takes a minute? Does it take an hour? I mean, what's the timing that it takes to transition from, say, a 6-foot depth pool all the way to, a dance floor?
So it's approximately a foot per minute for the floor to come down and to come back up as well. The technology is essentially, we place a hydraulic ram in the bottom of the pool vessel. The ram is attached to different cables and pulleys to the bottom of the floor, which will bring the floor down as well. And actually, it's a very sustainable or passive type of technology, I would say. The only time you're using energy is when you press the button to bring the pool floor down. So that'll be, for, let's say it's a 6-foot depth, maybe a 6 to 8 minute period. That's the only time you're actually utilizing electricity. So again, the energy usage is very low on this as well.
You mentioned something a second ago about a free-form pool. So these pools don't have to be just a rectangle.
They don't have to be rectilinear. They can be curvilinear as well. As long as the walls are, again, vertical and the floor is flat, you can have any imaginable shape.
Awesome. So how long have y'all been doing these floors? I mean, is this something it's showed up on my radar here recently, but I think that the technology's been out there a while. So, I mean, how long have y'all been building movable floors?
So the technology has been out there for about 40 years, originated in Brussels in Belgium.
Wow.
And we've been operating in the United States for over 10 years now, operating and installing hydrofloors for over 10 years.
I saw one of y'all's YouTube videos, I believe it was y'all, and when the floor was going up, someone was still in the pool. So is it safe to be in the pool while it's still raising up? Or is it like, hey, that's probably not the best thing to do? Or what do y'all think?
So it's not recommended to be in the pool as the floor is going up and down.
Okay.
But I can't guarantee that, people stick to that rule. I think a lot of our homeowner customers like to play King Neptune and, go up and down on the floor as the floor is being raised and put down a depth. But we don't recommend doing it. But of course, some people like to have a little fun with it.
Okay.
So how do you handle steps and benches? I know the floor is going to be flat, but we can't accommodate those aspects in it. Is that correct?
We actually can. We can build benches, full length or full width steps, bump out steps, corner steps, Baja shelves as well into the floors as well. And what happens is, like, actually, I'll probably, what I can do is send you a video of this as well. It's a bit more of a mechanical video, but essentially, as the floor comes down, the steps will lock into place and they will collect at certain intervals. And as the floor comes back up, the steps get collected again, and they, go back up to form the full floor.
So you could have a tanning ledge and a 3.5, 4 foot deep pool. So you could have different levels.
You can, yeah.
Just you can't slope the floor, but you could have different levels in the pool.
Exactly. And if you, let's say you have a customer who would like 2 different depths within the same pool, we could potentially install 2 floors into the same pool and have them at different depths. And then they would be separated by a bulkhead so that no one would accidentally swim underneath the higher.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
I could definitely see this product being really cool with spas, because I love to sit in a spa for hours. And sometimes when you're with a bunch of people in a spa, everybody's got to be in their area. But when you're by yourself, it's like, man, I wish I could just lay out and you could just, push the floor up or push your seat down. And
that's a question. So can you have a spa and a pool together with a movable floor?
We typically separate the spa. So we'll put the spa on its own scissor lift system, and the pool will be on its own hydraulic floor system.
Okay, so 2 different systems. Okay. Interesting. So I think the one big question a lot of people have asked me, because I told them that we were going to interview with you, is what's something like this cost? I mean, where does the price point on these things begin? Because that seems to be the big thing that most people don't have any grasp of whatsoever. So you're going to build a conventional pool, you're going to have those costs. So then your conventional pool is going to be a little bit deeper than you would typically make it to accommodate the floor. And then you're going to come in. So is the pool in its entirety done when you come in and put your product in?
That's correct. Yeah, the pool would be done. Other than the tiling of the floor, the pool would be tiled and completed. We'll come in, install our floor. The tiling contractor will come back to tile the floor. We will then come back to make any adjustments necessary to make sure that we don't have any toe stubbers and the floor is set at the correct floor height to match the surrounding patio hardscape as well. So that would be our process there. In terms of pricing, we have 2 distinct product lines. We have what's called the Dream line and the Streamline. So the Dream line is our bespoke sort of custom product for some of the larger projects that we do, and the pricing will vary greatly on those. We have our sort of lower cost, pre-built to size Streamline product, which will start, for, let's say, a 10 by 20 pool, including full width steps. You're looking at maybe $180,000 shipped and installed. So 10 by 20 would be one of the smaller sizes. If we go up to, let's say, a 13 by 39 with full width steps, the cost is approximately $235,000.
Okay. How long does the process typically take when y'all come in and until y'all are good to go? It's done.
So for the Streamline pre-built product, it takes approximately 1 week to install it once it's shipped to site and once our technicians are over. Some of the larger, more custom ones can take, several weeks, if not a couple months to install.
Okay.
So is this all, water chemistry? Can you have like a saltwater pool, or does it need to be ozone or chlorine? I mean, is there certain things that are corrosive that are going to damage the mechanisms or the equipment over a period of time?
That's another good question. So all of the floor and all of the mechanical equipment beneath the floor are going to be stainless steel. Anything that's underwater is going to be 316 marine grade stainless steel. However, being stainless steel, we unfortunately can't recommend a saline pool just because of the fact that it's too corrosive. So yeah, we would recommend ozone or chlorine.
Gotcha. Well, I recommend that anyway.
Yeah.
That's just me personally. So, but you know, some people love saltwater pools in some parts of the country. They work well.
That's true.
With the tile, because you're talking about tile pools, are you typically working with big format tile like porcelain, or is it you seeing the traditional 1x2, or what kind of tile is it?
For finishing the floor surface?
Yes, sir.
We, for the floor surface, we can recommend any sort of non-porous material. Porcelain's very popular.
Yeah.
We've seen some beautiful Italian mosaics being designed onto the floors. Limestone we've seen used as well, although limestone I know can crack and break when you have temperature fluctuations and when it gets wet, especially in colder climates like let's say upper Midwest, for example. Yeah, any stone or any non-porous material is fine. I know some people like to put quartz in there or marble, which when wet can get very slippery. So, not the best recommendation, but it has been done. So yeah, any type of stone that's non-porous, porcelain is recommended.
If you were to describe your ideal client in the residential market, who would that client be?
The ideal client. Can I say the one who would like to spend as much money as possible with us?
Well, sure. So I guess that would be for the dream line, huh?
That would be for the dream line, yeah. The ideal client, I think, would be someone who's either building a new home or remodeling an existing property, who is putting a new pool or remodeling their pool. So say if they have an existing pool, if it's sloped or if the walls aren't completely vertical, you might have to break some concrete. Ideally, the pool hasn't been built yet. So we can then work with the pool contractor and the architect to help specify the product correctly, of course. And I think the ideal customer understands the fact that, the safety is unparalleled because you can, if you have little children and you're worried about water safety, you don't have to worry about them running off into the pool anymore because the pool is safe and secure at all times. It's not a vinyl cover that someone could potentially fall through. That same customer would, probably appreciate the elegance factor as well. The fact that they can have the continuation of their patio hardscape onto that same floor as well, so that they can have a seamless aesthetic for a very clean look. And of course, someone who, appreciates the versatility of having multifunctional use of that space. If they want to have a swimming pool or be able to throw, dinner parties or cocktail parties, someone who likes to entertain, of course, that sort of fits the mold very well as far as our ideal client.
I would think that a lot of spaces are getting smaller and smaller. And with small spaces, we're trying to multi-purpose the space so we can use it for a lot of different things. But, generally a pool is a pool. And so you're trying to incorporate all the other things around it and still, create the ideal environment for them. So this is kind of different in the fact that I can have a pool and I can not have a pool in the same space. So in these smaller homes that I keep, I've got 4 or 5 projects going right now and the pools are tiny. And because the space is relatively tight and we're trying to accommodate all the different things, but with your product, I could have a bigger pool and still have, my gathering spaces and all those type of things as well. So I think it really offers a lot of creativity for people that are dealing with, an elegant small space.
That's true. Absolutely right. Yeah, we work on a lot of smaller lot sizes. We've done several. When it comes to spas, we've installed several in Brooklyn, in Manhattan, in New York, San Francisco on rooftops, for example, where really space is such a premium, and square footage is so expensive. So we've been able to really help these clients transform and get really good use of their space as well. So the product for the spas it's a similar product, but it works on a scissor lift system rather than using a hydraulic ram. We do have another technology called a traversing spa deck. So what that is rather than having a floor, go ahead.
Yeah, that was what I saw, the traversing spa deck. And I was like, oh, wait, I missed this. I should have seen this earlier. So anyway, I didn't print out everything that you sent me. So sorry about that. So
no problem.
Explain the traversing spa deck.
Sure. So the difference between the hydrofloors and the traversing spa deck is the hydrofloors is a floor that disappears vertically. It goes up and down to the bottom of the pool and comes back up. A traversing spa deck is a floor that comes out horizontally. So it's a retractable. You could sort of allude to it being a type of a retractable cover, but it doesn't roll up at the end as traditional retractable covers would do. It would simply slide off to the side, and you can still use that space when the pool floor is open. You can dress up that traversing deck with turf. You can dress it up with flower beds, for example, so that when you close the pool, instead of just seeing a floor, you see a nice landscaped amenity like flower beds. We did have a project in the UK recently where the customer wanted a full turf backyard, so to say, and they requested a traversing deck that had a turf floor as well. So their idea was that whenever the floor is closed, you can use the space as a pitch to play soccer on.
Gotcha.
I'm wondering, with this technology, are y'all doing any different spaces like besides pools and spas? Like I was just thinking in my head, like sunken fire pits are pretty trendy. Is there any way, because you could probably recess the benches and just make a sunken fire pit completely flat? I don't know. Is there any other places y'all are applying this technology? Or is it?
That's a really interesting concept. I don't think we've applied that idea to something like a fire pit before. Okay. But the technology would apply to anything. Like some of the extreme luxury homes might have car elevators.
Yeah. Yes.
Inside where you can drive down to the garage. You park the car, you press a button, and then the car floats up to your bedroom or your living room space, so you can show it off to your friends. The technology would be very similar. We would use a scissor lift. So we can, we're very open to working with clients and contractors and architects on new ideas. So if you bring us something interesting like that, to the table, we'll see what we can work up for you.
Awesome.
So are there cost savings with certain shapes or sizes? You mentioned a certain size, a couple of sizes when we were rattling off. I mean, so is there like, there's a menu. If you select these, those are a certain price point. But if you start getting into weirder measurements, then there's a higher cost. There's it relatively the same.
There will be a higher cost if we go into wackier shapes, so to say, curvilinear pools as well. The standard streamline product is only available in a rectilinear shape at the moment, and we have preset prices for those. Anything when we start to sort of customize the shape and size of the pool, that'll start to raise the price.
Okay, excellent. But we come up with a design, and then so how do we get a price on that? We come up with a design and we send it to you, and you work out a bid based on the scope of work that's we're looking at.
That's correct.
Okay, awesome.
Is there any other restraints with this product where the homeowner or designer, someone that's wanting to push this product, might need to know about that we haven't discussed?
Any other restraints? The mechanical room should be at a similar level as the bottom of the pool floor.
Okay.
In order for our hydraulic fluid to be transferred between our mechanical equipment and the hydraulic ram at the bottom of the pool. Any other restrictions?
Let me have you go back to that.
Sure.
The mechanical room. Okay, so we've got a space that's not underneath the pool. That's a separate structure or space.
It'll be a separate space.
Okay.
So essentially, we have a power pack that's the dimensions of that are 22 by 24 and 72 inches tall. So it is a very, very compact size. It houses our control solution, and it houses our hydraulic fluid as well. So the hydraulic fluid gets transferred via a pipe, which is connected through the pool vessel's wall to our hydraulic ram. And that's what activates the hydraulic ram back and forth. There's actually only one perforation in the pool vessel, which is where that pipe is required to be for the hydraulic fluid. Something else I wanted to mention is that there isn't a volt of electricity that runs through the pool, of course. All of the floor is brought up and down by the hydraulic ram. Only, regardless, the pool floor will be bonded in 5 different spots. And then, of course, we use a 30 amp 240 single phase breaker for our mechanical equipment. So it's a standard breaker that you might have for a washer or dryer in a residence.
Wow, that's a pretty low load. I was thinking it'd be higher than that, so that's good. Okay. So questions or concerns that we haven't brought up from a maintenance standpoint? I mean, how often is this piece of equipment usually serviced?
We recommend, to maintain our warranty, we require 2 dives per year to maintain the structure, to make sure all the mechanical components are in good shape for usage. So maybe once every 6 months.
Okay.
So typically, some people vary, but do y'all have a set time for how long your warranty is, or does it depend on what the design is?
It'll depend on the product.
Okay.
Give me a moment and I will pull that up for you.
So one other question. So in certain parts of the country, pools are drained and winterized.
Yeah.
Okay. So is your product okay to be drained where it's not in water at certain times of the year? Or is that something that it should be in water all the time?
It can be drained if required, but one of the interesting concepts is that whenever you have the pool floor at finished floor level and the pool is covered, it acts almost as a giant thermos bottle.
Exactly.
You have very little heat loss. You have great insulating properties as well. And so some of our clients choose not to drain their pools just because of the fact of the pool being protected from the elements.
So this would really be beneficial for someone that swims competitively or trains in water all the time, and the fact that they could heat a pool up and keep that temperature, because you basically have a huge thermal blanket that's going over it as well. So, it's has all the advantages of a standard cover. In fact, I would think it would be more insulated than even with a standard vinyl cover from a aspect. So, somebody that's really wanting to swim a lot, they could really extend their season with minimal heating costs do people use it for that purpose a lot? Are you aware?
They do, actually. They do, yeah. Some of the smaller pools, the clients will, build the recessed wave recurrent generators in so that they can swim in place. The Montana project that I mentioned in Whitefish, the adult children of the client are triathletes, and they actually use the pool to exercise and swim and as part of their workout regime quite frequently in the wintertime as well.
Excellent. So you were going to say something about the warranty, and I interrupted.
Warranty, yes. So we have a 10-year warranty on the stainless steel structure, and we offer a 3-year warranty on the hydraulics.
So what are some things we haven't touched on that we should be touching on?
Let's see. I think we've covered a lot. I think you've had some really good questions as well. I think it is important for the clients, of course, to always kind of understand the expectations that it can be a bit of a process in the planning phase. There are a lot of moving parts. We'll have to work with the architect, the pool contractor, of course, but we have a lot of expertise in designing and installing these floors. We've installed over 100 globally, more than 45 here in the US as well. So we have a lot of design, engineering, and installation expertise, of course. So it may seem daunting once you look at all of the information on paper, but we have a very seamless process of putting everything in place and making sure the clients have a very sort of unique experience with us throughout the build process.
Are there certain places that you don't work in the United States, or you work everywhere in the United States? And are there you mentioned other countries. Is it predominantly in Europe or Asia, or where is your market?
So I would say our largest market is the US, California being one of the largest markets at that as well. We are a global company. The parent company is based in Ipswich in the UK, which is a couple hours north of London. And we do a lot of projects in Europe as well. But if you put us on a plane, we'll be happy to travel anywhere. We've installed projects in the Bahamas. We've got one in Mexico, all throughout the United States, Spain, Portugal. We've had a homeowner in the Alps in Switzerland, in the middle of the mountains. Beautiful scenery, somewhere you would never expect to see a product like this installed. We've done projects in Italy as well. And of course, we can install in Asia. We do have a global installation team.
Awesome. Got any other questions, Trey?
I can't think of any off the top of my head now.
No. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This is something that, people have seen, but they don't know much about. And I think it's a really awesome piece of equipment for water safety as well as lots of other applications. But, since that's what we're focusing on this month, I think it was really helpful for you to come on. And
wonderful. Yeah, of course.
Your contact information will include in the information with the podcast. And then do you go to a lot of trade shows? You mentioned you're going to be at the international show in November, but do you go to other ones as well?
So we will definitely be at the international show every year. We do like to pop in with some of our local watershed chapters. I was recently at the one in Long Beach with the watershed guys. We do also attend certain architect-specific trade shows. We were with Bond Events in Tucson 2 weeks ago, where we were presenting to hotel developers and architects. Those would be the main trade shows. And when it comes to architects, we do have a fully accredited presentation with the AIA Age of Study credits as well for continuing education. So we're happy to present those to our architect partners as well.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. And
you're welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
For your information as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So we'll look forward to answering any and all questions that we have that come up, and we'll direct them to you. Thank you. And I'm sure I'm going to have some people that have some questions about this, and we'll look forward to working together sometime in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you again, guys, and we'll see you in November.
Okay. Take care.
Have a good one.
All right.
We can't use electric because we don't have the amperage for it. We're going to go to gas. So we'd switch to a Brahmic heater at that point.
That's right.
Okay. So tell us about Brahmic heaters.
Why Brahmic?
Yeah.
It's like you said, well, it's sexy. It looks nice. They have two versions. They have the tungsten version and they have the platinum version. Believe it or not, the tungsten version's an open face, so it's going to have more BQ. It's going to have more heat coverage. We sell a lot of platinums because of the look. What is the cowl or the eyebrow on top? What does that do? Well, it allows you to get into a combustion clearance. So above that heater, that is the distance to the ceiling that you see up there. It's 14.5 inches. That's how close I can get away from combustible, from wood.
Okay.
Whereas if you direct your phone over here to this box heater, which was in the industry since the early 80s, you have to have 36-inch clearances above. That's not correct. You have to have a lot of room above that heater, and it's pretty invasive. Right. So when you go to Brahmic, more streamlined, more contemporary. The one question we get, hey, does it have a high and low? It does not. We don't do that with gas because they can blow out. So it's on or off is what it is, and this is the same gas as electric. You want to buy them in pairs and define that area is what you want. Cool thing about some of the gas heaters, they do have drop holes. So if I have extremely high ceilings and I want to nestle them into a corner area, I can do a blocked ceiling, drop it down 2 feet, and mount that heater on that particular pole and still not be invasive. Also, I can do a back-to-back mount. So if I do a center positioning where I want to cover 2 areas, I can provide a drop hole and I can mount them back-to-back is what we can do. So pretty cool situation. We have an area to where customer couldn't do 2 together, but he wanted to cover some area. So we did a center support, block the top, drop hole, and then face out heating. And it gives you a lot of versatility versus the larger heaters, in other words.
So are these the sizes this comes in, or
there's the great question. 2 sizes. There's a 500 series and a 300 series. We kind of relate that to panels. So this is a 500 series. It has 5 panels in it. The 300 series has 3 panels in it. We'll very rarely use the 3 panel, more 5. More is more with heating, with the Brahmic and gas. What's the coverage? Same as the electric 11 by 11 area. Is what it is.
So you're going to put 2 units in for an 11 by 11?
You want one unit will cover 11 by 11 area.
Okay,
And then-
just want to clarify.
Yeah, 20 feet in coverage or the defining area for 2 is really what you want. So
Awesome, appreciate it. Now, they came out with this new one.
So this is new. This is their Eclipse version. So the Eclipse is really, really cool. It's called an Eclipse, and I think next month or this month we've got an Eclipse coming, right? So, but this one here has. In the summer, it's used as a light. It looks like an eclipse. It's a low voltage LED halo is what it is. And then you can also use it as a heater in the winter. This has what we call a arm type mount. That's a pediment mount, and then they have or a direct drop mount. The element up inside of it is important, but the glass that covers that makes the heater what it is. It's for heat distribution. If you've ever seen any induction tops that have what we call the shot ceramic glass, this is what this is. Shot ceramic glass, it disperses heat evenly, and it will cover a 10 by 10 area. The gradient is 33, 66, 99. It's high, medium, low, and you can use the remote with that. So,
Does that rotate to different angles?
it does not. It has different mounts. It's going to be a permanent mount, but
It's always going to be facing straight down like that and static.
no heat above that. It's all downward, and this is for heating. This is the newest to the category in outdoor heating.
Well, it sure is cool looking.
It
Yeah,
is.
what would you say the height that you're going to be working with this is?
If you'll notice in all barometric literature, when you start kind of surfing through it, you'll find out that 96 inches, 8 feet is your minimum. Your maximum is about 9 to 10 feet where you can be
Okay.
on these. But it's value added on a real contemporary setting, or if you've got a specific area that we just specify, we put a couple of them out there. It's going to be interesting to see how that ends up and what that looks like. A little more contemporary, and it's different. It's not what their neighbors have or what's standard and offered in the industry. So.
Yeah. Yeah, the one client loves it. So
Yeah.
we're finishing up the architectural drawings
Well, I know.
with the house,
Yeah.
but they love everything we did with the pool.